WWE Hell in the Cell 2020 is in the books, and this was a really fun, surprising show on a lot of levels. What are you guys going to give this grade? I'm asking you right up front here, right off the bat in the chat, because I want to know right away. I did not put a Twitter poll up, but we are coming off what was a pretty damn decent show, and I got to say, Roman and Jey Uso, Sasha Banks and Bayley, and Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton may have taken a step closer to restoring my faith in the Hell in the Cell concept after the past couple of years have been huge, terrible letdowns and a lot of head-scratching finishes. Tonight, I think they delivered all the way around in the three big matches, and we had a couple of surprising outcomes. And really surprising, I think, in the main event, Drew McIntyre finally main events a pay-per-view after winning the WWE title at Wrestlemania, and gets beat. Randy Orton is your new WWE champion, and what was somewhat of a surprising finish in my mind. We got no cash in tonight. We got no crazy swerves, but we got every bit of action, drama, violence, and brutality that we would expect out of a Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. We got it here for sure, and the men and women performed well in the Thunderdome in this environment, I think, and I thought it was an A-plus pay-per-view, man. I really did. A couple of the buffer matches I feel were unnecessary, but that's also what they were there for. Jeff Hardy and Elias was a stupid finish. We didn't even need the Bisquick and Bobby Lashley match, but we got it to breathe in between what was, in my opinion, three really good and different Hell in the Cell matches, all with kind of their own different feel and identity. So WWE, in my mind, hit a home run tonight. They did great. Chat is here saying A+. We're getting B+, 9 out of 10. Bayley lost 0 out of 10 from Barry. Thanks for the $2, dude. 8.5 B+. Yeah, so nothing below a B so far. Gotta say it was a decent show, and I was one of the, I don't know what everybody else was saying, but I was actually fine with them only having 5 matches announced. They did throw a 6th one at us during a promo with Retribution, where they offered up one of their members to take on one of the Hurt Business guys, which I assumed would just be an automatic win for Retribution since they've been looking like a pile of shit on TV, especially last week. I'm like, okay, this will be a one-on-one deal. Retribution get involved and somebody will win, and still they lost. So they are, man, that's not what tonight's about, though, complaining about a Retribution. We'll do that tomorrow night when they make even bigger asses of themselves. But aside from the small card, I was actually okay with it because I thought there was enough story and enough substance to the other 3 Hell in the Cell matches that we were going to get some good shit tonight, and we didn't need a 4-hour show. 3 hours is all we needed, and that's pretty much exactly what we got. I think the show ended right at the top of the hour, so it was about a 3-hour-long pay-per-view. And I got to say it was pretty good. We're going to run through it here, but we'll collect ourselves here, let people gather in the chat. Please do me a favor, smash the thumbs up button if you could for me and help me out on the likes. If you're here watching us for the first time, please subscribe. I'm up here every Monday night discussing Raw, and we're up here after every pay-per-view, and we got all sorts of reviews and fun stuff going on on the channel all the time. My next Patreon-sponsored review, by the way, is in the works. It's going to be on Beyond the Mat. Never did a review on Beyond the Mat, so we're going to talk about that in early November, so keep a lookout for that. Aside from my overall general thoughts about the show tonight, and like I said, we'll go through it match by match here in a minute, nothing was overly surprising to me. I think the Money in the Bank stuff was really capturing a lot of our imaginations, because in terms of my predictions, I almost can't remember what I predicted yesterday. I think I only got one match wrong. I think I got the main event wrong. I predicted Drew McIntyre to retain. All the other matches I believe I got right, and I did reluctantly predict The Miz to win the briefcase because I felt like, why are they doing the match if he's not going to win the briefcase? Like, why are they even going through all this shit? So I thought there would be a possibility that he would win. And as we talked about yesterday on the podcast, if he did win, that sets up a really interesting scenario if somebody like Randy Orton, if Randy Orton won the title. We talked about this. Who did The Miz cash in against 10 years ago? Randy Orton. How cool would that be if he had 2 Money in the Bank cash-ins against Randy Orton a decade apart? Might be kind of cool. So a lot of people were wondering if The Miz was going to come out and cash in the end. I am personally fine with him not cashing in. I like the idea of him cashing in, but I almost think like it could happen a different way. I didn't see anybody taking out Roman Reigns for the title, obviously. Now that The Miz has it on the Raw brand, he'd have to cash in, on Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, and even that didn't seem like it would be fitting tonight. It would be surprising, but it wouldn't be fitting. Maybe there would be a case for him to cash in on McIntyre, because if McIntyre would have won tonight, he would have needed a new opponent. But is Miz really a credible opponent? Look what he's been doing lately. Is he all of a sudden, just after winning the title. Is he expected to now successfully retain against Drew McIntyre? No way. So I just didn't feel like it was the right time yet. And with a guy like The Miz, he's the type of guy, he's the type of character, when somebody like that has the briefcase, I feel like they should run with it for a while. Because The Miz, what is he good at? He's good at being an obnoxious douche. So he's going to take that briefcase, he's going to taunt everybody and be a complete asshole with it. And that's the type of thing that you want to do with a character like that. Make him flaunt it. Make him rub it in everybody's face. I got this. I can cash in whenever I want. He still has all the way up until June to cash this thing in. There is no rush. Wait until there's a more vulnerable champion. Like, for example, if McIntyre would have won tonight, he was really worse for wear. He was bleeding from the mouth. He took the table bump. He was all busted up. So, maybe Miz capitalized tonight. Maybe tomorrow, Drew McIntyre gets so pissed about losing that he comes out. Randy Orton's doing his victory celebration. And then McIntyre comes out and just annihilates him, puts him through a table, leaves him laying there, and then The Miz comes out and cashes in tomorrow instead of tonight. Maybe The Miz holds the briefcase and cashes in the night after WrestleMania next year. Who knows what they can do. But I think maybe tomorrow is an option, because we've seen that exact scenario before. I think, didn't Dolph Ziggler cash in that way? Name me some cash-ins that happen the same way. Somebody came out, the one with Edge happened, I think, that way. Somebody comes out, just annihilates the champion, puts him through a table, leaves him laying there. He could be in street clothes for all we know. And then the Money in the Bank winner comes down, or the briefcase holder, I should say, comes down, cashes in, and takes advantage. That could still happen tomorrow if they wanted to go in that direction. But I'm a little bit confused now on Orton and Drew. I thought this being the third match in the program, this would be it for Drew. He would finally seal the coffin on this entire angle. But instead, Randy Orton wins. Now you got to start to wonder if there's going to be a fourth match, or if they move McIntyre to SmackDown. No, they wouldn't do that. So now I almost think that although there are no guaranteed rematches, how do you not do one? How does Drew not get a shot at winning his belt back? So I'm almost thinking, are they going to go a fourth? What are your ideas? What the hell is going to happen here? And there's a lot of what ifs and a lot of up in the air storylines now, because I thought they took a couple of really cool turns tonight, especially with the Roman and Jey Uso stuff too, that got my wheels turning and spinning on all sorts of different ways and directions they could go in. So that's exciting to me. Orton winning the title surprised me, but certainly didn't upset me. He now ties, I think, Triple H for the second most titles all time, WWE titles all time, I think, right behind John Cena. So that's incredible. That's quite the accomplishment there, and good for Randy Orton. I'm not really saying I'm surprised. He did beat him clean too. RKO right in the middle, pinned him. So crazy. I don't know. You guys let me know. Let me go down here to the bottom of the chat here. Before we start getting into the match by match stuff, I'm going to knock out these super chats and see what else you guys have to say in the chat about the show. And also, we got the Survivor Series coming up. They did run the little promo for that coming up on November 22nd. It is, thank God, going to be a tribute to The Undertaker. If they would have let the 30-year anniversary to the day pass without acknowledging that, I would have been freaked out, COVID or no COVID. So a year ago, prior to COVID, I did an entire video. No, last summer, 2 summers ago. I did an entire video about why November 22nd should be The Undertaker's retirement match. But because of the situation that the world found themselves in, it looks like The Undertaker is done. So instead, we're going to get some sort of a really big, tribute show to him. I think that's awesome, and we can now start speculating about what kind of matches they're going to do. I don't know if it's going to be a Raw versus SmackDown affair. I hope not. That's silly when you just had a draft a month ago. And, why are you fighting for brand supremacy when nobody is loyal to any brand anyway? It doesn't matter. Here tonight, as we'll talk about in the Money in the Bank match, they kicked off a brand new program between Otis and Tucker, and guess what? They're on separate brands. So that means nothing. Brand supremacy means nothing, and I really hope that if there is a Raw versus SmackDown match, it's only one, and it's not a whole bunch of them. But we could get some rematches here, like Sasha Banks and Bayley, and the big question is now, is Sasha going to get over the hump and end the curse of not being able to successfully defend the title, which she's never been able to do, which is just a mind-blowing stat that I don't think WWE should allow to continue. They need to end that, and Sasha needs to get herself a victory. So the Survivor Series is shaping up. but it just depends on what the theme of it is going to be. Yeah, we know it's going to be Taker related, but what about the rest of the matches? Team events, champion versus champion type of thing, like they used to do back in the day, or not back in the day, but just a few years ago. How's it going to be set up? I'd rather have this show be about the current storylines, not just throwing random opponents together on opposite brands. I've really never been a fan of that. So I don't need that here at the Survivor Series. I hope they make it a much better show than that. Let me knock out some super dupers. I'm going to go all the way back up so I don't miss anybody. I started with Barry. I think I got you. Was there anybody before you? I don't think so. All right. It looks like we're good. All right. After Barry, who's next? Thank you. Hey, Antoine. Good to see you. Appreciate the 5. Giving it a B because that Roman J match should have main evented. I loved that Roman and Jey Uso match. What a way to start the show. That didn't bother me too much, only because at the time of the show's airing, even before the Retribution promo even happened, we only had 5 matches. So you have to open with a cell match. So you can make the argument that none of them really deserve to go on first. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns has been so just dramatically awesome on TV that you can make a case that that's the storyline that we feel the most, so that should go on last. Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, that's your championship. That's the oldest championship and most coveted, in the company. It's the WWE title, the same belt that Andre and Hogan and Savage wore. For that to go on first, wouldn't that kind of be a little strange, especially that the program that Orton and Drew have had. And then with Sasha Banks and Bayley, their story goes back a couple of years and is now finally culminating here in this big title match. That going on first could also be viewed as a tragedy. So it's all just subjective what you think and what you would have preferred to see go on last. That didn't bother me at all because another thing you got to think about is when WWE books out their pay-per-views, they have the rundown, and they have each match, and then they decide who's going over in each match. I think you have to decide that first, and then based on who you have planned going over, that's where you place the matches on the card. So I think if you're going to have a title change, if you're going to have a big swerve or a cash in, that should go on last. And Roman Reigns was the only one to retain the title. I still argue that based on the finishes they did here, Sasha and Bayley should have gone on last. Even with the Orton and Drew match, could have gone exactly the way it did, but put them first and then Sasha and Bayley going on last. I think a title change is the one that should go on last. That's just me. But based on the work that's being done with Roman and Jey, that really seems like the big storyline that it's the first story in a while that I think that I've truly felt. You could feel that, it was awesome because they are so good, all those guys, and they are related. And there's a lot of, real life feelings. I marked out seeing Afa and Sika on the ramp tonight. I couldn't fucking believe that. So based on all that, the way that ended, that would have been a perfect ending to the pay-per-view with Roman going up there and receiving the lei and standing with Afa and Sika and the show going off the air. No complaints out of me. But in terms of if it should have or shouldn't have, I think it just kind of depends on that kind of stuff, who goes over and what the plans are. And it's just to structure your show out, so it flows is the way I see it. Hey, Joey G, what's up, man? Appreciate the 2. Best pay-per-view since Royal Rumble, best of the COVID era. You can make a case for tonight as well. I like tonight more than Clash, I think. Yeah, tonight was great. And it was short and sweet. You know what I mean? 6 matches, and all 3 were good. It didn't burn you out. It was 3 hours. And I was pretty much entertained the whole time, just with a couple of breathers there in between. Stone Cold, appreciate the $2 as well. Called it. Greg Orton was my sleeper pick. That's right. You did say that, I think, yesterday in the podcast. Yeah, I was not against Orton winning the title at all. I just thought this being the 3rd match in the series, you telling me you're going to do a 4th if you have Orton go over, but I guess maybe you are. And Joshua Aparicio, thanks, man. Appreciate the 5 from you as well. Hey, Greg, this is my first super since I moved. You are awesome. Keep it up. Welcome back, man. Hope your move and everything went well. And anytime, man. Glad to see you here hanging out. Who's next up? Chris? Nope. Chris Minor. There you are. I think you're next. Hopefully I didn't skip anybody. And appreciate 5 from you. If we get Champ vs. Champ in Survivor Series, who goes over, Orton or Reigns? Both are super over, but I got to go Roman so he can gain more momentum. Good question. If we do get that, we don't know yet what they're doing for Survivor Series. I don't want them to do it. A couple of times it's been intriguing. I was at Survivor Series a couple of years ago when it was Daniel Bryan and Brock. That was kind of cool to me, So that match was like interesting because Daniel Bryan like won the title the previous SmackDown prior to, on the go home SmackDown going into the show. Big swerve, big change to the card, and it made for a really kind of a cool match. But aside from like situations like that, I don't know if I need to see Orton and Reigns, two very vicious and sinister heels going head to head. I don't know if you need to do that or not. I mean, if you really just have a battle to see who's the most sadistic, I suppose you could. But I kind of hope they don't do that. But they could. We'll see. Deshaun Robinson, thank you, man, for the $2. I knew The Miz was winning when I saw green attire. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a done deal when they started the angle. When he first served those court papers, I was like, all right, why are they going to go through this whole process if Otis is just going to keep the briefcase in the end? So I kind of thought it was likely that they would move it over to The Miz, but like we talked about yesterday, even with it being on The Miz, I don't think he's really that much more of a credible person or champion at this point than Otis is based on who the current champions are. But Orton holding that title does set up an interesting circumstance with The Miz, and it might be cool. You know, where is the Miz girl? Can we put her in the Thunderdome? She's got to be like 18 or 20 years old now, and put her there. And like I said, they could do a segment tomorrow night on Raw where Randy Orton gets attacked by Drew McIntyre as he's in the ring cutting his victory speech or victory promo. Drew hits the ring, whips his ass, puts him through a table, and then out comes The Miz. And then they cut to the girl, you know, doing the face. I think that would be a fun throwback, but probably not. All right, I'll knock out 2 more super chats, and then I'll shut up and start getting into the results here. WWE fan 22, thank you for the $9.99. Really appreciate it. I don't watch the weekly TV, but Roman and Jey and Miz winning Money in the Bank make me want to watch again. Thought Miz should have been WWE champ in 2016. I did too, when he was on a roll with great promos. Yeah, I remember talking about that 4 years ago. That's when, in my mind, I said, I'm ready to give The Miz another chance. I don't think the world was ready for him in 2011. I don't think he was ready, and he wasn't, viewed as a top-tier champion ever. And he's never really made it back there. But as he's gotten older and he's matured and he's earned the respect somewhat of a lot of the fans, a lot of people he's worked with after he had some heat a time or two in his career, and for him to to kind of get all that back and be more respected, I think they should have taken a chance on him. I mean, because that was the year they were putting on like Dean Ambrose and stuff, and AJ and Jinder, right? All was in that year, so they should have done it with, or maybe Jinder was the following year in 17. Right around that time is where I think they should have pulled the trigger on The Miz. Now I'm worried it's like kind of too late, but then again, he's got that briefcase right now, so we'll see. Chris Ludecki, thanks, man. $2. I tweet Drew is buried and people took me seriously. Oh no, yeah, they might. Yeah, sarcasm and wrestling fans are not. They're like, oh, that's like oil and water. Oh man, that's pretty funny. Yeah, no, nobody thinks Drew is buried. K-Dog's Kennel, appreciate the 2. Pleasantly surprised by the Tucker heel turn. Yeah, I kind of called that one. We talked about it. I pitched it a couple of months back. I think I pitched it when they first started this. And I said, Tucker, he's got one of those situations. We've seen it before with tag teams. He's got that situation to where he can make a case that, kind of Otis lost his focus on the team, turned his back on him by winning the Money in the Bank, and got a girlfriend. And, his friendship with Tucker and the team of Heavy Machinery was secondary, and that didn't do any favors for Tucker from a professional standpoint, so he would turn on him. We talked about all this like way back, and then what tipped me off tonight, and I put it on Twitter, the Tucker turn before it happened, was when Otis came out with new music. And I know that they've separated Otis and Tucker, in the draft anyway, but still, they're still bros. They're still kind of considered Heavy Machinery. And we've heard about Vince really liking Tucker and want to push him as a singles. And he comes out to some new kind of, looked like custom theme, some blue collar rock and roll type of theme with lyrics and everything. I was like, this would be a perfect time for Tucker to turn. They got them all out there on the outside of the ring, and Tucker can just turn on Otis, and that was it. And then I was talking out loud. I was like, they even had the sequence where, Morrison has the briefcase, and then Jessica throws him out, and Tucker kind of walks over there. The briefcase is staying. I'm like, look, he's going to pick it up and wallop Otis with it. And that's exactly what he did. Miz looked surprised. The tweet that I made about it was that Tucker should turn on Otis and then join Miz and Morrison and start dressing like them. Could you imagine if he was like wearing a Miz bandana and one of those sparkly jackets and glasses? He'd be hilarious. But it looks like he caught Miz and Morrison completely off guard. Miz was surprised as hell and happy that he won. They then cut backstage where Otis or Miz and Morrison are talking to Tucker. He doesn't even really want anything to do with him. He goes, it wasn't about you. It was about, Otis. And he pretty much in the promo said exactly what I laid out, that, he just, Otis became, too enamored with other things type of shit. And he kind of held it against him and resented him. And that's why he turned on him. Otis shows up. He brawls with Tucker. And now we've got a Raw and a SmackDown guy embroiled in a feud. And we talked about this yesterday, too, that I wouldn't be surprised if WWE figures out a way to get Otis over to Raw. They do a trade or move some people around, shift some stuff, because you've got Miz, Morrison, Tucker, and Mandy all on Raw. What the hell is Otis doing all by himself on SmackDown? I think maybe tomorrow or something, maybe they do another Wrestler's Court or another Law and Otis, and they get Otis on Raw somehow. Otherwise, it looks like that issue is completely done, and he's now going to stay on SmackDown, just like Big E is, kind of, and try to develop his singles persona. That might be more likely, especially now that we got the new music and all of that. But I guess what's going to wind up happening is he'll stay on SmackDown, and Tucker will come over there to have a couple of matches. I don't think they'll be wrestling on a pay-per-view or anything. I think this will be resolved on TV, and then he'll just beat Tucker and be done with it and be on with his singles run on SmackDown, I guess. I don't know. But I was surprised by it, too, and pleasant and fine with it. Oh, man. I really got to get into these results. Okay, 2 more quick ones. Alex Dredge, Patreon supporter. Good to see you in here, man. Appreciate the super. I thought the Sasha Bayley match was the best sell match tonight. How long do you think Orton will hold the belt for? I agree with you. I like Sasha Bayley the best. That was a fantastic match. My God, I can't wait to talk about it. Orton, I think Orton could hold it either until like the Royal Rumble or until tomorrow night. Like I said, he could get attacked, and that's when the Miz could take advantage and cash in on him. But if he survives tomorrow, then I think we're talking 2021 sometime, provided he survives tomorrow. Reese Jones, thank you as well, man, for the 5. I often think the best work comes from people who have a real friendship backstage. In most cases, that is true, because they take care of each other. And they're more business oriented than thinking about themselves, All right, I'm going to leave off with Luigi DeRaw with the $4 super chat. Drew to NXT. I wouldn't be against it, man. They need something. Remember yesterday in the podcast when I talked about The Miz taking the briefcase to NXT? Why not? What if Finn Balor is technically cleared? He comes out to the ring to cut a promo, and he says, I've got good news, guys. The doctors have cleared me, and it's my privilege to announce that in 2 weeks, I'll be back in the ring, and I'll be facing so-and-so or whatever. And then, but since he said the doctors have cleared me, that's when Miz comes out, takes advantage, hits him in the jaw with the briefcase, knocks him out, pins him, wins the title, and gets to be the Miz in NXT for a while just for shits and gigs. Who knows? Might be fun. And I even said maybe you can have a couple of TV matches and they turn out to be really good, and maybe some portion of the audience almost starts respecting Miz for what he can do in the ring. Who knows? But like I said, negative 5,000% chance of that happening. So don't get your panties in a wad. C-Mac, appreciate the 2. Bucks, good pay-per-view match with Sasha, and best match with Sasha and Bayley to me. I'm not going to disagree there. And then I swear to God I'm done with this one from Deshaun Robinson. You're the best, man. Appreciate 5 more. Tell WWE I want Belair versus Banks women's title match at WrestleMania 37. I would be thrilled with that option. Bianca, that's your girl right there. Bianca and Big E should be your Royal Rumble winners. Big E can go in against maybe Roman and beat him, unless The Rock comes in and does something, and Belair can go in against Sasha. That'd be a great match. Bianca and Sasha. And plus, if Bianca went, man, I would stretch that out. I would make that from like Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, like a good 8-week program or something. Sign up now for my 8-week program. I would love for that to be the case with them. I'm down with that, man. No arguments here. All right, let me shut my trap. Let's start getting into the Hell in the Cell actual results here. We're going to go match by match, and we're going to start with the kickoff. As usual in these kickoff shows, R-Truth usually makes an appearance, and he was fantastic. They announced way late in the day that it's going to be R-Truth and Drew Gulak for a 24/7 championship match on the kickoff. R-Truth shows up during the panel. Of course, he thinks it's Raw talk again. Jeff Jarrett is one of the members of the panel, and R-Truth thinks he's Road Dogg, which I don't know why tickled me as much as it did. He looked right at Jeff Jarrett, and he goes, Road Dogg. And he popped everybody at the table. Booker T couldn't even contain himself. He, of course, saw Peter Rosenthal or whatever his name is, called him Sam Roberts. I was kind of hoping he would call Charlie Renee, but he didn't. But he knew who Booker T and Jerry Lawler was, which was funny. And they inform him that he's got a title match later on or whatever. So then he goes to the ring to face Drew Gulak. He beats him. But the bigger story here is, and I'm curious if I'm waiting for one of the news sites or wrestling sheets to report on this, because you would imagine that Drew Gulak is probably going to face fine or suspension for his actions tonight. Like they were pretty dastardly. I don't even know if this guy's going to keep his job. WWE is probably going to have to let him go, and then maybe he'll turn up in AEW or Impact or something. But I seriously doubt he's going to have a job in the company anymore because he kicked a little kid. Little Jimmy is sitting there in the ring minding his own business, and Drew Gulak kicks him. A child, just a kid. Fucking child abuse right there in front of worldwide pay-per-view. After the abuse of a young child, after he loses, he goes to the panel booth, the Kickoff panel booth, and he takes the Lord's name in vain on TV. He says John Cena sucks. If that's not grounds for dismissal, I don't know what is. We wish you the best in your future endeavors, Drew Gulak. Nice knowing you. Anyway, but R-Truth retains, and he's still the 24/7 champion. Main card time now. They announced 3 minutes before the show went live that it would be Roman Reigns and Jey Uso opening the show. I knew it was going to be a cell match, but I was honestly surprised that it was going to be Roman Reigns. I immediately glanced on Twitter, and there was just WTFs straight down my timeline. What? Roman and Jey Uso opening the show? What the fuck? How crazy is that? And I'm like, it's not that crazy, really. It's the match that we're the most likely to not see a title change in. I think there's a 3,000,000% chance that Roman was going to win that. It was just the story and how they went about doing it that I was the most interested in. And we talked about that yesterday on the podcast. Moxley and Eddie Kingston in AEW is the same thing. It's an I Quit match. We know Eddie's not beating him for the title, but I can't wait to see how Mox wins. And this was kind of the same thing because Roman was so specific in a lot of his in a lot of the promos leading up to this about what the consequences are here for Jey Uso. And as he said on Friday, after I make you say I quit, if you don't fall in line, you are going to be out of the family. You, your brother, your wives, your children. You'll never have anything to do with us again unless you acknowledge me and call me the tribal chief and all this bullshit, right? So to me, they were setting up, they were setting the groundwork here for a really long-term storyline here where the three of these guys, I think in the end, will come together. And we knew it was going to be, dramatic. We knew it wasn't going to be a lot of crazy action. Nobody's going to be climbing up to the top of the cell and falling off because you don't need to do that in a match like this. This is all about just the story and Roman Reigns, who is just doing phenomenal work. It's so blissfully wonderful to see Roman being this character, but it's almost half frustrating to know that he had this in him the whole time, which I knew. I defended the guy from the very first boo he ever heard. But it almost frustrates you that WWE was so damn stupid. It took him this long to finally put him in a situation where he can showcase the ability that he truly has. Instead of the fans are just booing him, he's just a lame piece of shit character who has no charisma and all this. I'm like, no, much like John Cena, he can do it if you just give him some stuff to work with. And imagine, and I brought this up before, based on the work we're seeing Roman Reigns do now, imagine if they would have pulled the trigger on a John Cena heel turn after WrestleMania 29 in 2013. Imagine how good that could have been. So in a way, it's like a little bit frustrating that we are only seeing this in the past couple of months when Roman could have been doing this years ago and TV would have been much more enjoyable. So they make their entrances. Jey Uso comes out first, and he's wearing all white, which is really interesting because I've been calling for blood in this feud since day one. So when he came out there wearing white, like 8 weeks after Labor Day, I think that's a big no-no, right? I'm like, oh man, he's got to spill some color on that. That would be so fantastic. But we didn't see that, but we didn't really need to. We saw plenty of drama here. Roman comes out next. Match kicks off, and it starts off as pretty much a normal match at first. And nothing too out of the ordinary about it. Roman has taken a lot of punishment, and he's allowing Jey to give him plenty of offense. I mean, this felt like a really competitive match that maybe went a few more minutes longer than it needed to be, in my opinion, anyway. So that was a bit surprising, but it was mostly about Roman kind of wrestling with himself. He almost, the more punishment he doled out to Jey, even though he was very angry about it, he still kind of had that, like, why are you making me do this type of look on his face. And the offense he was delivering was just brutal. I got to say, it was random, and it was a blink and you miss it moment. But I think Roman in this match delivered probably the best spear that I've ever seen. He delivered a series of spears. I think there was 3, maybe 4. And I think it was the second one in the group that he bounced off the ropes, and he really led with his shoulder, like differently than I've ever seen him do before. And he just mowed the fuck down Jey, like just flattened him like a train. And I don't know what it was about that particular spear. It was almost it just was the most real looking and most believable looking spear I think I've ever seen in like 25 years of spears. And that includes Goldberg and everybody else. It just looked fantastic. So he was just mowing down poor Jey, beating the hell out of him. Lots of toys were introduced here, of course. I think we had a chair in the ring. Jey Uso introduces a big leather strap that was hiding under the ring somewhere. He wraps Roman up at one point, starts choking him out, trying to get him to say I quit. Roman would not. He even says, he says to the referee, the head of the table doesn't quit. I mean, he had a little catchphrase for every time he said no. I love too when where did I leave off there? Oh yeah, when he had the strap, did you notice that Jey kind of struggled to wrap it around his face a couple of times? That was funny, but Roman wouldn't submit at all and continued to recover every time from all of Jey's offense to start kicking the crap out of him. I don't know what was going on with the gold glove. He had like a gold, almost looked like a bowler's glove or something that a bowler would wear, and it was gold. So I don't know if it was on a Superman punch hand. So I don't know what he was trying to do with that and what the point of it was, but it was just a good match all around. Jey was hitting some really believable super kicks too on Roman Reigns a couple of times, had him down, and there was one pin in particular that was so close. I was surprised that WWE allowed the pinfall to get that close. It was like 2 9/10 on Roman, and he barely kicked out. But the story here was that Jey Uso was, I guess, just exhibiting how stubborn he is. He would not quit under any circumstances, to the point where Roman even locks him in his new submission, the one that he used to beat Braun Strowman a couple of weeks ago, locks him into that. Jey just crumples down, and he basically puts him to sleep. And as good as and I never compliment acting in wrestling, very, very rarely. I thought everybody in this match did a really good job from an acting perspective, except for one guy, the annoying referee, who just wouldn't shut the hell up. What do you say, Jey? Oh, Roman, he won't quit. He won't quit. Just shitty. Just so overdramatic. Didn't sound good. It was cringy as hell. And he was ruining it. He was ruining, a blissful moment that is just wonderfully being played out before our eyes. And then this guy is killing our boner. It was pissing me off. So luckily at one point, Roman even disposes of him, tosses him over the top rope and shuts him up. Thank God. But Jey, no matter what is done to him, won't quit. Roman even chokes him out pretty much unconscious, and he still won't quit. And that's when Roman seems to be getting more upset. Even seemed like he could cry on demand. He almost just seemed like he was overwhelmed with sorrow, because this is his cousin. They grew up together, and he keeps asking Jey during the ass kicking, why are you making me do this? Why are you making me do this? And he said, now that you're unconscious, you still won't say I quit. I'm not going to let it end like this. I'm not going to be held responsible for my actions, basically. And then out come the officials, and my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, don't fucking tell me. I'm already completely just flattened by what they've done to the concept of the Hell in the Cell. It's already turned into this big monstrosity that's twice as big as it used to be, this big Mattel toy. They painted the son of a bitch red, and then the last couple of years, especially last year, with these goofy ass finishes and these ref stoppages and shit like that. The whole point of the Hell in the Cell is to have a conclusive outcome to a match, and the last couple of years they've completely just destroyed the concept and the identity of that. So for all these officials to run out, to open the door, to enter the ring, to surround Jey, protect him, try to keep Roman away, I was like, oh God, don't tell me. But luckily, Roman to the rescue. Our tribal chief, our savior, Roman Reigns, says, oh, hell no. He scares away all of the officials. I think even Adam Pearce is out there. And he gets them out of there, and he closes the door. He says, "We're not going anywhere." And he grabs the big steel steps, and he gets in the ring, and he stands over Jey, and he's basically just about to squash him, just splatter him on the mat because he's unconscious. He doesn't have his hands up. He's not protecting himself. He's laying flat on his back asleep, and Roman is going to smash the steps into his face. In runs Jimmy. Jimmy goes over top of him, tries to protect him, begs Roman, "Come on, what are you doing?" Starts calling themselves by their real names, and is just doing a phenomenal job of really, pleading and begging to his cousin, "Come on, don't fucking kill my brother, man. This is your cousin. Like, what the hell?" And, he's emotional, and Roman's got this crazy look on his face. Jay's completely unconscious. Paul Heyman shitting his pants on the outside of the ring. All of this was just wonderfully set up. And then Roman throws down the stairs, gets a hold of Jey, starts putting him in the choke, and he's just going to choke him out and end him, break his neck, whatever. The two brothers during this are holding hands during Roman choking him out, which I thought was just fantastic. They're kind of looking at each other, and that's what it takes to get Jey to finally say, "I quit." Brilliantly booked, because Jey has been really stubborn, and he's been fearless, and he's been proven to all of us that he's capable of being a main eventer. And he said he's not going to quit under any circumstances, no matter what Roman does to him. And he proved that. He was unconscious. He was not going to quit no matter what Roman did to him. No. You're going to have to rip my head off because I'm just not doing it. But it took somebody else's well-being for him to do it. That was a brilliant setup. I like the one that years ago, Triple H lost an I Quit match because somebody threatened to rip Chyna's arms off, remember? So kind of like that type of deal. And finally, Jey succumbs, and he says, "I quit," saves his brother. And it was just, wow, just amazing stuff there. Some people were a little critical of the match. They thought some of it didn't make sense, or maybe it ran too long or something. I liked it pretty much from top to bottom, really. To me, I liked Jimmy running in there and all of that. But then again, Roman seemed like he purposely choked out Jey to, render him unconscious. And if he purposely did that, and you're so hell-bent and you're so obsessed with him not only saying "I quit," but acknowledging you as the tribal chief and all that bullshit, why would you put him to sleep? Wouldn't you want him awake? Wouldn't you want to just torture him in other ways so he doesn't pass out? But he was unconscious during that whole thing, finally, waking up to save his brother's life there in the end. But still, I just thought it was really well executed, and we knew it would be. We talked about this yesterday. I said this is going to be super dramatic. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to really show how awesome heel Roman is. Heel Roman is the fucking best. Great job here all around. Just when I thought it couldn't get any better, Roman wins. He's got the title. He leaves. He goes up the ramp, and who's waiting for him? The Wild Samoans, Appa and Sika. They were tag team champions when I started watching wrestling. So I go way back with those guys. It's cool to see them, and they're still alive too. And they welcome Roman. I think they put a lei on him, and basically that signified that Roman is the head of the family, with those two guys kind of endorsing it and all of that. Now, where this leaves us is the other part of Roman's stipulation, saying that if the Usos don't fall in line, then they are going to be out of the family. So Jey Uso did step one. He quit, but with time, I guess we'll still tell if they fall in line and what exactly that means. And what we talked about yesterday is you do the deal where the Usos join Roman. They reluctantly fall in line to stay in the family. Roman can even kind of humiliate them a little bit on TV, maybe treat them like shit, give them some tough love, and trying to turn them over to the dark side in his way of thinking. And it takes a while, but they kind of get there. And then the first thing that happens is you give them a SmackDown tag team title shot, like as soon as possible. And maybe they win, maybe with a little bit of cheating, or maybe just win in kind of like a squash, like in a really brutal, vicious, remorseless fashion, to where maybe they took the punishment and the violence a little bit too far to win the titles. And once they experience that success based on the Roman way of life, they buy into it. And then next thing you know, the Roman Empire is born. And instead of reluctantly aligning themselves with Roman, now it's mutual. Now they want to be with him. They turn heel, and the three of these guys, just kill people on the main roster. It'd be like a new Shield, and it would, instead of like slapping them together back in 2015 when the Usos were wearing bright orange colors and Roman was still wearing the Shield gimmick, now you've created a story, and Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso now have established themselves a little bit more from a singles perspective, and they're a little bit more believable now in terms of what they can do, they'd be a great faction. I almost think that Paul Heyman would be out of place in that faction. And maybe Roman boots him out and says, we don't need you. This is a family deal. You ain't part of our family. We're going to get you out of here and bring in The Rock instead. I don't know. They could do, or bring in Rikishi or something. Somebody mentioned that too yesterday, if I thought Rikishi would show up tonight. And that would have been cool to see him maybe at ringside pleading with Roman Reigns as well. But we got Alpha and Sika, and that was fine with me. So bravo, well done. Great match all the way around. When it comes to modern day storylines, when it comes to modern day wrestling programs or angles, there's very little, if anything. I would say probably nothing that I get emotionally invested in. You think back to the Austin and McMahon angle, the Brett and Shawn feud, certain things throughout history that really made you really made you feel it. Nothing like this in the John Cena era or the Ruthless Aggression era or the PG era has even come close to giving me that feeling, and this kind of did a little bit. I just liked seeing Roman that way. It's great. He's fucking great. He's a great champion. So yeah, for him, I think WrestleMania needs to be the absolute earliest that he drops that belt, and whoever beats him, it'll be a pretty big deal because he's on a hell of a run here. So great stuff. I'm okay with the match opening the show. Didn't bother me that much, but based on how dramatic it was and how awesome it was, sure. You can make a case that should have been the main event, but it would only get better as the night went on. Next up was a buffer match. Elias taking on Jeff Hardy. What a lame finish here. This is a match I had zero interest in at all. It's stemming from months back when Jeff Hardy had that little car accident trouble that turned out to not be his fault, but Elias is still holding a grudge on him. So he returned. He had the big Rock concert last week on Raw, and Jeff Hardy interrupted that. And now we got the Hell in the Cell match, Hell in the Cell pay-per-view match here, which ended in a DQ. Jeff Hardy hit Elias with a guitar, and Elias, just like I said when he returned last Monday in the stream, I said that what I'm worried about is that Elias will never be any different. Being a good singer and being able to play the guitar in a weird way hurts him because they're never going to do anything more with him. It's just a revolving door of heel and babyface turns and a revolving door of meaningless opponents and feuds. Think of everybody he's just randomly feuded with. The Strowman one from a couple of years ago or maybe last year, whenever it was, and just random feuds just in and out. It's always, he's in the ring, he's singing a song, somebody interrupts him, then there's a match, then there's a series of matches, and there's 50-50 booking, and that's it. This is a guy based on his look, based on his physique. He could be pushed. I see like visions of Magnum TA in him, where WWE could push him as like maybe a little bit more rugged, type of guy, somebody that's a little bit more, because he's a big dude. He's not small at all. I think wrestlers should be a little bit scared of him in the ring, and he doesn't, his wrestling persona and his in-ring wrestling is like totally secondary to his guitar playing and his gimmick and all of that. He just has a great look. He's charismatic. He can sing. He can play guitar. I think that they should do better with him. And now that he's back and he's been gone for so long, within his first week, he's right back being the Elias that he was before he left. The injury didn't give him a new birth, give him new direction, new motivation, nothing. He's right back to being Elias. You can never keep track if he's heel or babyface these days. And nothing is different. Literally nothing is different from when he got injured. And I think that's sad because I like Elias, and I think he deserves better. So he'll continue his shit with Jeff Hardy tomorrow. They will have a match again. Watch, it'll happen. And maybe we'll have an actual finish there. But this was pretty much just a buffer, I think, after that really dramatic Jey Uso and Roman Reigns match. After that, we had a match that had some meaning. It was Miz versus Otis. Otis's Money in the Bank contract is on the line, as per JBL in the big Law and Otis segment that they did on Friday, which I really liked. I thought it was hilarious. But unfortunately, Otis has got to defend the briefcase now, and we talked about it. We talked about the opening of the podcast here, that I don't think they would go through with this if the plan wasn't to move the briefcase to The Miz and, maybe just push Otis as a separate entity. We noticed he has the new music now that he came out to, and Tucker is out there with him, backing up him. Morrison is backing up The Miz. And to me, it was kind of, writing was on the wall there. I was not that surprised in a Tucker turn. Tweeted it right before it happened. I said, this could be it, where he turns. He's got motivation. He can be, he can say, hey, you found a girlfriend, you won the Money in the Bank, and the team, the heavy machinery didn't mean anything to you anymore. My friendship didn't mean anything to you anymore. I came second, and resents him for it and attacks him, turns on him, allowing Miz to win the briefcase. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Morrison got thrown out, trying to use the briefcase, hiding it behind his back like fucking Jessica can't see it. So she throws him out. He drops the briefcase. Tucky picks it up, gets in the ring, or Otis is over near the ropes, I think, and he wallops poor Otis with it. And then Miz capitalizes, wins, and gets the briefcase. He looked surprised, so he wasn't in on it with Tucker. There was a backstage scuffle after the match where Tucker was interviewed along with Miz and Morrison, and Otis jumps him. And now Miz can head over to Raw with the briefcase, and I'm guessing Otis will stay on SmackDown, and Tucker will head over there for a couple of weeks to lose to him, and then head back to Raw, I guess. Otherwise, again, 2 weeks after your draft, you kick off a feud with a Raw and a SmackDown guy. Smart, WWE. Why the hell did you even move Tucker there? Why don't you just keep Tucker on SmackDown until all this shit was done, and then move him or something? Just stupid. I don't know what they're thinking sometimes. So anyway, Miz is your new Money in the Bank briefcase holder. We thought maybe he could cash in tonight, but now, like I said earlier, with the briefcase, I think a guy like the Miz, because of his charisma and because of his promo cutting abilities and what a douchey, annoying, obnoxious heel he is, when he's a guy like that with a briefcase, they're great to have on TV, taunting us, talking about how we can cash it in whenever, and you better watch out, and just be an asshole for a few weeks, just to create some more suspense. And he has until June. Miz does not need to cash in. He didn't need to cash in tonight. I'm glad that he didn't. I still think there's a possibility that he could tomorrow, because I think we're setting ourselves up here for potentially Drew McIntyre to be really pissed off. He comes out during Randy Orton's victory celebration and kicks his ass, claymores him a couple of times, puts him through a table, and then Miz comes out there and beats him for the title. If Randy Orton survives tomorrow and Miz doesn't cash in tomorrow, then I think the Miz is holding on to the briefcase until 2021. But I suppose technically there's still a chance he could do something tomorrow. But I think they're going to keep it on him for a while and let him do his talking. Why not? What's the rush? We've seen a lot of really brief briefcase runs in the past couple of years. They've been cashed in relatively quickly. I'm cool with one taking a few months. I'm in no rush. Got to be patient. You know what I mean? Before we get into Sasha Banks and Bayley, which I thought was just a terrific outing for both women, fantastic stuff. Let me catch up the super chats because I know they're coming in. At least one. Okay, I'm not too far behind. I just got a $10 one that I need to acknowledge from Spaz. Was that it? Yeah. Let me hit you there, and then I'm going to read some of these other comments before I get into this match. Cheap plug this Tuesday at 7 Toronto, Canada time. Myself and YWC legend Jake DeMarco previewing the return of Halloween Havoc and chatting up all things NXT. Hope you and the chat are well, Greg. Well, I'm doing well. Hopefully the chat is too. I think they are. They seem like they're well. Nobody's freaking out over there. And appreciate it. $10, dude. And yeah, good luck on Tuesday. And say hi. Go over to Spaz's channel, by the way. Make sure you sub him and join him for lots of NXT reviews. He's well versed in NXT. Much more so than I am. That's for sure. Slapjack is a jobber. Yes, he is. My God. Oh, Roman with a new theme song. I'd be into that one day. Anywho, let's move on to Sasha Banks and Bayley. Hell in the Cell match, SmackDown Women's title. This one was, again, you can make a case for could be the main event. I think it should have been based on what we saw tonight. But again, it wasn't something that I think is a travesty or anything like that. I don't give a shit. But based on this program and how good this match was, this could have easily been the main event match for me, and I would have been fine with it. They come out. Sasha is decked out all in white. Bayley all in black. I like that little touch. Get in the ring. They do the introductions, and we're off and running here. And you knew they were going to start off relatively slow, but not that slow. Within just a few minutes, we're getting, our first good spot where Bayley is up against the cage on the outside of the ring. I think she even has a table up against her too, and Sasha just gets a running start and hits her with a Meteora right into the cage, and it was really a well-looking and well-performed spot, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. They bust out the kendo sticks right away, and they started. It was kind of reminiscent a little bit of what New Day and the Usos did a couple of years ago, and I think Sasha is using Sasha or Bayley starts putting the kendo sticks through the cage and into the steel steps, kind of forming the bridge there. And I think Sasha takes a drop toe hold into them at one point, and then also gets slingshotted into them by Bayley, which is a pretty good spot. Lots of chair stuff in the ring. It was kind of cool how Bayley brought the chair with her, I think, and then Sasha, I think, threw it out of the cage or something like that and shut the door. Bayley was somehow able to retrieve it. I didn't catch that, how she was able to get the chair back in there. Somebody gave it to her, or she was able to reach it, or maybe there was one under the ring. But there was plenty of toys to use here. So they had the chair in there, and the chair has been a very big part of their feud leading up to this. I thought in terms of what they were doing performance-wise, just during the in-between the spot stuff in the match, was a little bit better than I saw a couple of years ago with Sasha and Charlotte. I thought they were just working well together the whole time. Everything just looked really good. Where I felt the Sasha and Charlotte match from a few years back had a couple of things that just didn't look as good because it was like the first women's Hell in the Cell, or one of the first ones, and I guess they hadn't like really figured it out yet. Some of it just didn't look real well or real good. But here's Sasha and Bayley. I just thought they did great. In this whole entire thing, there was very few times where I felt they were in over their heads. There was no times where I felt like they were in over their heads in the Hell in the Cell match. Everything was crisp looking and good and fun and brutal, and they were just beating the hell out of each other. We kind of get near the end of the match. Sasha finds herself caught face down in the ring apron, and Bayley, I think, just slams her head right on the steel beam, like the frame structure of the ring. So she's laying there, apparently unconscious. She's just laying flat, kind of bent over the ring apron, and she's not even awake. And this, I think, was my favorite part of the match. Bayley, I don't know what she was doing, but she goes on the outside of the ring and she grabs a roll of duct tape, and she's trying to fuck with it, but she can't get it open. And she tells the ref, she goes, "Hey, ref, I'm really sweaty. Can you do this for me?" And he's like, "Hell no, I can't do this for you." I just love that she asked the referee to help her use some duct tape so she can do God knows what to Bayley with it. And what she did with it was ridiculous. There's no way this could have been the initial plan, because she kind of just dropped it and said F it. But she took 2 kendo sticks and tried to duct tape them together in order to create a longer bridge, maybe between the ring and the cage. But why would you do that? And the first thing that popped in my head is the Wrestle Rock Rumble. Any old school fans know what that is? The Wrestle Rock Rumble from the AWA back in the day, this horrific rap with, Nick Bockwinkel and Larry Zbyszko and Hennig and Scott Hall and everybody. And one of the people that's singing that is Jerry Blackwell. And while guys are singing, like they do these little cut scenes to them beating the shit out of something or doing something or whatever. And Blackwell's, he's got a 2 2x4s stretched across, like 2 horses or 2 chairs or something. And in the middle, the 2 2x4s are just taped together. And he does like a splash through them. And it's just like, what is that supposed to show? It's not even a connected board. It's like taped together, and you're 400 pounds and you're jumping on it and acting like that's a big deal that you can break it. So the fact that Bayley was duct taping 2 kendo sticks together, what is the point of that? So, and eventually I think it just wasn't working out. She was too sweaty. The tape wasn't cooperating. So she said, "Oh, the hell with it." And they didn't really go back to that. But the first thing it reminded me of was the Wrestle Rock Rumble. She then goes back over to Sasha, who's still been laying unconscious, hanging over the ring this whole time. But by now she's recovered. She's got a fire extinguisher, blasts Bayley in the face with it, and then just starts wearing her out, just destroying her viciously and angrily with the kendo sticks. Bayley, one mistake Sasha made here, and I noticed it when she did it, when she's beating Bayley's ass. Bayley is like crawling to the chair. The chair's laying on the mat. She's trying to crawl to it. And I thought the way the camera was positioned, they were going to do the deal where Sasha would stomp on the chair and say, and like get it out of the way. Instead, she doesn't even prevent Bayley from getting the chair, and instead goes to the top rope to deliver a splash onto Bayley. I'm like, wouldn't you want to get that chair out of there so she can't use it to hit you with as you're coming down from the splash? But she didn't. She goes up the top rope anyway, goes for the splash, and sure enough, Bayley takes a chair, puts it over top of her, and Sasha splashes the chair. They both got hurt, but I think Sasha being the veteran that she is, she should have kicked that chair out of the ring before, delivering a top rope move to a woman with a weapon. But I still thought it was a good spot. They try to get creative. Bayley starts building the fort out of the ladders and the chairs. That plan gets foiled as well. She's never able to create any sort of apparatus to really injure Sasha Banks, even though the two are just beating the hell out of each other. Sasha's got this look on her face. She's just weathered. You can see it on her face. Bayley's taking an ass kicking. In the end, probably one of my favorite finishes like ever in any sort of match, just because I thought it looked so cool. Sasha winds up getting a hold of Bayley. And I even said this too. I mean, I didn't call the finish yesterday, but I was thinking, Sasha, I predict to win, but I think she should tap her out. Like, I really do. I think that should be the finish here. So she's able to put the bank statement on Bayley while kind of having Bayley wrapped up in the chair as well. She's got her chair kind of in it, reverse style of what you would do for Pillmanizing someone's ankle. She's got her head in it, and she's got the bank statement on. And while she's got the bank statement on, she is kicking that fucking chair, and Bayley is tapping like crazy. That was just great. That extra little touch there, that cherry on top with her kicking the chair, I thought added so much more. And you talk about getting somebody to tap out. I'd be tapping, if my face is going, up into a chair. So I just thought it was really well done. Bravo to Bayley and Sasha for just putting on my favorite women's Hell in the Cell match ever. I thought this was awesome from top to bottom. I thought they proved themselves. I thought they did the angle and the storyline justice, because prior to now, I thought the turn and everything was great. But everything since then, I thought it's been really bad. I think WWE's made a couple of hiccups and a couple of mistakes in the build to all of this. So I wanted them to come through with a really good match here, and they did. So props to Bayley. She's been a spectacular champion for this past year. How long did she hold the belt for? 380 days, 390 days, something like that. So over a year. And she just did a great job. Awesome run. What a run, for her. And she might win it back again. Who knows? She probably will. But, in terms of this run is over. You can't change this now. So I think she at least deserves credit and a little tip of the cap there that, you did a great job. You were arguably the best female champion in the world over the past year, in terms of her wins and losses, in terms of her entertainment. She was even a double champion, earlier on this year, winning the tag belts as well. She's had a lot of success in the win-loss department, but on top of that, she's really developed herself as one of the best heels in the business. She's great. She's obnoxious in a hilarious way, and there's not too many like Bayley. She was so entertaining. So props to her on a great title run. And now Sasha is in a position to try to exercise this demon of never being able to successfully retain a championship before. So again, every time I say that out loud, I'm in disbelief of it. So a lot of people are calling that it's going to be Sasha and Bayley again at Survivor Series for the title. Maybe, but it is Survivor Series. They might do a team type of deal. We don't know. They might do a rematch for the title on SmackDown, for all we know. They did the title match prior to the Hell in the Cell on SmackDown, so why won't they do the rematch there? But I think I would just like it for Sasha, and I would like it for her career, if when she does have that rematch, when she does defend the SmackDown Women's title for the first time, she wins, just to stop that ridiculous streak, because that's just ludicrous. So I'm kind of hoping that that's what happens there. Bayley wins it back, great, but I don't want to see this streak for Sasha continue. Unless WWE wants to turn it into a storyline, I suppose they might, but I'd rather just see her win, get off the hump, or get over the hump, if you know what I mean. After that, we had the kind of impromptu match they set up earlier on in the night with one member of Retribution taking on one member of the Hurt Business. And prior to them coming out, MVP said, you know what, we're going to volunteer up Bobby Lashley. And you know what, we'll do one better. He'll even put the title on the line. That's how confident we are. Not only do we not care about this team, we don't even care who you send in the ring. So much so that I'll put my title on the line. Even in a promo, they're making Retribution look bad. So my first thought was put Ali in there and have Retribution interfere and cost Bobby Lashley the match and give Ali the U.S. title, just to give the faction a centerpiece. Their leader can have a championship, kind of like Brody Lee with the TNT title or something like that. But instead, it doesn't turn out to be Bobby Lashley versus Mustafa Ali. It turns out to be Bobby Lashley versus Bisquick. And it doesn't take him long at all to put him in the full Nelson, I think, and tap him out, and that was it, right? I was barely paying attention to that match. I did not care. At this point, just drop Retribution. It's meaningless. It's pointless. The Hurt Business is making them look like a bunch of bitches. They've owned Retribution. Hurt Business owns them. So does The Fiend. They're not a threat. They're not a credible threat. They're no longer believable. They're no longer compelling or intriguing or in any way. Even with Ali, they've sabotaged the poor guy again, who deserves the world and has been given absolute shit. and it just does nothing for me, the entire angle. So anyway, or the entire faction. So Hurt Business continues to just whip their asses, and I'm sure we'll see more of that tomorrow night. That leaves us with the main event. Let's talk about that. Oh, Madeline, you want to see Sasha versus Io at WrestleMania? That could be good, especially if Io. I mean, I've kind of got Io in my mind penciled in to drop the title on Wednesday at Halloween Havoc. I just think if they're going to do both Garganos in repeat title matches that they just got at the pay-per-view, why do it if you're not going to do a title change? So if you take the belt off of Io and you have Candice hold it for a while and then pass it to Ripley, maybe move Io up to the main roster or something, you could pencil in those two for WrestleMania. But I think in terms of like who's earned their spot on the roster and stuff, it would probably be Bianca, because she's already been there, and WWE, it's not like she's not capable. She's awesome, and they're just not doing anything with her. So I almost think like if Io came in, she'd leapfrog Bianca, and I'm not sure if that's totally fair, but the match on paper, hell yeah, Io and Sasha, or send Sasha down there to work with Io. I'd be into that as well. Either way. Yeah, Andrew, I agree with you. Awesome match with Sasha and Bayley tonight. I think it was even more brutal than Charlotte and Becky. Yeah, it was my favorite, I think, so far, Hell in a Cell matches. Women Hell in a Cell matches, I think I should say. And the finish was phenomenal. Great stuff. All right before we get into the main event, let me knock out this super from Marcus. Appreciate the $5, dude. Sasha was almost a completed Grand Slam champion in 1 year. She won the Raw, SmackDown, and Women's what the hell's WMTT, Matt? Championships, and lost NXT. Oh, tag team titles, and lost NXT title match at Great American Bash. Yeah. And nowadays, I can't think off the top of my head statistic-wise who's done that, because it seems like it would be very common now. But the one wrestler I remember capturing all the gold inside of 1 year back in the day, which was just mind-blowing, was Kevin Nash. It was Diesel in in WWF. He won the Intercontinental and the Tag and the World inside of 1 year, which at that point hadn't been done before. And on the women's side of things, yeah, she accomplished a lot in that short time. Ooh, Io versus Asuka. There you go. Ryan's got a good idea. Yeah, bring Io up and put her on Raw and put her with Asuka first. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'd be into that. Sasha, Bianca, Asuka, Io. Hell yeah. That would look great on WrestleMania. Unless, of course, our blonde-headed queen shows back up and decides that she's going to be in a title match. That could also happen, but I like both of those ideas a lot. Anyway, that leaves us with the main event. Sixth match on the main card. Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against Randy Orton inside the Hell in a Cell. I predicted Drew McIntyre to retain here. It's the third match. Feels like it's over. That's what I thought was going to happen here, but boy, was I wrong. They get out there. In terms of the match, I think I was paying less attention to the in-ring match than I was to Jey Uso and Roman and Bayley and Sasha. It was good, but they were pretty much delivering to me exactly what I kind of expected in my head. I was just waiting to see how it was going to start ramping up, once they kind of got over that hump and started wrestling for a little while. The pace started picking up, and then we start getting into the finishing sequence. That's what I was ready for. So once Randy Orton busted out those bolt cutters, I knew shit was about to get real. He breaks the door off. They open it up. We knew. And they began, by the way, Randy Orton was dressed up, I think maybe as a cameraman, or he was in all black and wearing a mask. And Drew was making his entrance, Orton attacked him. So he was wrestling kind of like in pants and street clothes for a portion of the match until finally taking his pants off. And I like how they cut away from him while he got him off. I have no idea how he got him over those wrestling boots. But the way he laid down, I'm just saying, it looked familiar to something else we've seen in the media the last couple of days. But the way he laid down and started messing with his pants, and then the camera cut away, they come back and he's got his regular gear on. I don't know, I got a kick out of that. But anyway, he eventually gets the bolt cutters, opens up the door. They find themselves on the outside of the ring now. Orton climbs up to the top, and he basically just beckons. He calls Drew McIntyre, come up here and get me. And this cell is just ridiculously big. Does it really have to be this tall? I mean, it's twice as high as it used to be. The 1997 cell, you could, in the first few years of that cell, you could touch the top from the top rope. It wasn't quite as low as War Games. You could still jump off the top rope, but just barely. There wasn't much room for you to jump off. So I don't mind them making it a few feet higher, but they literally made it like 10 to 12 feet higher than it used to be. Is that not like a little bit ridiculous? So the whole thing just looks insane. Now they're climbing up this ridiculous structure. They, and if you notice, they got the footholds now, which they started doing with the old cage. I think the first time I noticed the footholds was around like maybe 2000, maybe the year 2000. Might have been around the time, might have been the one when Rikishi fell off, because that might have been hard for him to get up there without, some extra, footing or whatever. But in the old school days, Mick Foley and HBK and Taker, they didn't need that shit. They just climbed up that thing. Mick Foley, after flying off the cage, falling through a table, was able to climb up that mesh cage at a very out of shape 280 pounds with a separated shoulder. And he's able to climb up that thing with no problem. Now, they give you, training wheels to get up there. But in their defense, you got to be safe, and you're going up a lot higher than you used to go up back in the day. So I'm fine with them playing it safe. But when they were up there, it's like you knew exactly what was going to happen. You knew they were setting up for a bump. Neither one of these guys was going to fall off the top. So it was going to be the deal. It was going to be the very first bump we saw in the first Hell in the Cell. It was going to be Shawn falling off the edge of the cage. We saw Ambrose and Seth take that bump together a few years back at the Hell in the Cell. It was going to be that. And then when the camera shifts to the other side of the cell to look up at them, the first thing I see is on the support bar in the middle, they've got little stands. 4 of them. How many feet do Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre have combined? 4. There's little footholds for them to stand on, little platforms to where they're coming down and they can stand there, and they're side by side. And I see that, I'm like, they're going to come down and set up for a table bump, an announced table bump. So again, on one hand, I'm all for safety and being careful and making sure that these guys are going to take a risk, that they're not going to kill themselves out there. But at the same time, if you're going to make it so obvious, I'd rather just not do the bump at all, because they were still on the top of the cage and I knew what they were going to do. I'm like, they're going to come down, stand on those things, and one of the two of them is going to go through the table. I assumed it would be Orton, but turned out to be Drew McIntyre. So it's almost like it's a table bump for the sake of a table bump. You could tell not only that there was going to be a bump, but you could tell what kind of a bump it was going to be. And if you're telegraphing it that much, I'd rather just not see the bump at all and preserve these guys' necks, backs, bones, and bodies. So just a little nitpick there, but I'm old school. I miss the old days of just like gritty, bloody cage matches. This thing is a toy. This thing is a toy where they're even letting they're going to climb up it, they're going to climb down, somebody's going to go through a table. They're making it like way too obvious. So that would be one complaint I think I had in this match. But Drew, he takes that bump. I thought for sure it was going to be Randy Orton. Drew falls down. He sells it marvelously, bleeding from the mouth. And then Randy Orton's got quite the chore because McIntyre's all the way on the outside of the ring, and he's got to get him all the way around in the door and into the ring. And that's when I assumed that McIntyre during this time and during this transition of getting back in there, he would recover and wind up, claymoring Randy Orton in the ring for the win. That's what I was waiting for. And they finally get back in there and they battle a little bit. I think even McIntyre regains control and he starts setting, and I felt like they were telegraphing this too, because he gets Orton down and he stands in the corner. He kind of calls him up. He's just waiting to deliver that Claymore, but it's taken forever. Randy Orton's, really taking a long time to get to his feet. And I'm like, he's going to counter this and hit him with an RKO. And he did, and wound up pinning Drew McIntyre completely clean right in the ring. Surprised the hell out of me. Like I said, we were thinking about cash-ins the whole night, given it felt like Drew McIntyre was in worse shape than Orton. So I was like, if Drew does pull off this victory here, catches Orton with a Claymore, pins him, he's bleeding from the mouth. He could have internal bleeding, broken ribs, all sorts of crap from the table bump that he took. He is in not good shape. The Miz could run out there and cash in on him. But then when Randy Orton won the title, Orton was fine. I mean, obviously he had worked a Hell in the Cell, but he wasn't battered, beaten, bloodied, laying down on the mat, clutching the title, completely spent and out of shape. He was standing up and celebrating. He was fine. And I think even this Randy Orton after a Hell in the Cell match was better than Miz at 100%. So I didn't think Miz was coming out there anymore once Randy Orton won. It would have to be a situation where he was really, really compromised, which is why I think we might get it tomorrow instead if Drew McIntyre gets his hands on Orton and beats the shit out of him, allowing Miz to come in and pin him. But good for Randy Orton. Congrats to him. What is it, 15 titles? 14 or 15? I believe he ties Triple H for the second most all-time, and they trail John Cena who I guess has 16, right? Help me out with my math and my stats there if I'm right. But yeah, all in all, I got to say all 3 cell matches were great. Even Orton and McIntyre here did a really good job. And Drew deserves credit for his selling. He really made you believe that he was fucked up, internally and injured pretty badly. And he put over Randy Orton, which I got to say is a surprise because now I feel like there's no choice but to get a 4th match. I know that there's no more guaranteed title rematches, but how can you not give Drew a chance to win his belt back here? So now I feel like we're going to get a 4th match or something. I don't know. Or we're going to do a Raw and SmackDown deal on Survivor Series. I'm really not sure, but we'll see. What do you guys think? Where do you guys think it goes from here? What does Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre do next if they have a match? I think they do, right? Does McIntyre just forget about the title and goes off and does something else now? No, right? Yeah, and that could be. We talked about that as well. We could see McIntyre win the belt back now that WWE's got a little bit better of an environment. Maybe it's something they want to give to him. We talked about this back at SummerSlam. Oh, maybe he'll win or lose it here and win it back. It's not fans. We don't have fans back yet, but we have the Thunderdome, and maybe around next year's WrestleMania, we will see some fans in attendance. There are some fans at the World Series. There are some fans at football games right now. So maybe they want to give Drew another chance to have that moment that's not inside of a dead, quiet, empty performance center. But then again, it was a pretty definitive victory for Randy. He put him down, beat him 1, 2, 3. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Do you think we could get a Drew McIntyre heel turn? Do you think maybe this changes his attitude? And he goes back to being a heel or something. I thought Randy Orton was going to head to SmackDown and challenge for the Universal title, but now he's champ on Raw. And it should be interesting, tomorrow night, see him come out, what he's got to say, and that sort of thing. Yeah, and Maka's right. They could be giving McIntyre a rest too. Maybe they want to give him a little breather. He's been going hard, but thank you for that, Reese. 14 for Orton, not 15. Bad decision putting the belt on Randy? Nah, it's not going to hurt him any. How is it going to harm him? Oh, how lower can the ratings get? I like Randy Orton. I'm cool with him being champ. Yeah, somebody pitched the idea too of Edge showing up tonight in the Hell in the Cell match, maybe costing Randy Orton or maybe even helping Randy Orton. But I still think we're going to get maybe Orton and Edge next year, especially with Randy Orton winning the title now. How is Edge? Do we know? Is that what kind of shape is he in? Is he ready to come back quite yet? I still feel like he's got a little bit of time, but I feel like Edge, based on his success when he came back at the Royal Rumble and the matches he had with Randy Orton, I could totally see WWE giving us like an Edge nostalgia run for sure. And if that's what they plan to do, the only guy to really beat for the title would be Randy Orton, based on what he's done lately. And this also, when you think about it, this could also maybe open up the door for McIntyre if they wanted to do anything with Tyson Fury, although I think travel is going to affect what they do there. Not sure, but yeah, Edge coming back could be on the horizon now that Orton is champion. And that I would be into. I would totally be into an Edge and Orton world title program. Totally. I did just 2 nights ago. We watched the Orton and oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't watch Orton and Taker Untold. I watched the Edge and John Cena one. Or maybe that was a day of. I forgot what the hell it was that we watched. Thank you for that, Deshaun. Thank you for the $2. Orton won his 3rd belt in the Cell 2009-2013. Yeah, Orton has been in that Cell a lot. He had the experience. I think he said that was 7th or 8th Hell in a Cell match to Drew's 0, I think. So it's not really that out of the realm of possibility that he would win here. He's a proven veteran. He's beat plenty of tough opponents, and McIntyre is really no different. No, Jonathan Coleman, I don't think he will. You don't want Edge to win the Rumble. Neither do I. I think the Rumble should be reserved for somebody else that, could use it more. Edge doesn't need a Rumble to increase his stock to launch him or anything. He's the veteran coming back, for matches. He can get these and earn these opportunities without that. And plus, there's 2 belts, so the Royal Rumble winner only challenges for one of them. And yeah, I think with Edge and Orton, if they try to save that for WrestleMania, they could. They could, I suppose. They could have Orton hold the belt all this time until WrestleMania, but I almost feel like it would have to be sooner than that. Maybe not. Maybe not. And then you have you run with it until WrestleMania and then have Edge win, and then you could even have Big E win the Rumble and beat Randy Orton or beat Roman Reigns. So yeah, I think the guy that challenges Roman should win the Rumble, I think. And then maybe, depending on who the champ is on Raw. Because we still could see The Miz. You got to at least factor in him. They wouldn't give him the briefcase if they didn't think that, maybe 10 years later, we're going to give The Miz another crack with the title. And this time the fans might accept it a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know where he fits into all this. But like I said, I think if we get through tomorrow and we don't have a cash in, then I think The Miz holds it at least until the beginning of the year. He could cash in on after a Randy Orton and Edge match or something. They could wait for that. That's a possibility too. But I'm curious Edge's status, like what his deal is and when we could see him back on TV. I'm ready. Oh, Orton versus Riddle or Orton versus AJ Styles feuds. Both would be good, both possible now on Monday Night Raw. I think we'll have a better idea of what they could do like I said, after tomorrow, because tomorrow will tell us if Orton and McIntyre have got another one coming up or if they're going to temporarily sidetrack Drew with something else for some reason and then allowing Orton to have a different opponent here in the next couple of months. I don't know. But tomorrow will be very telling. We'll have a pretty good idea. We might even have, tomorrow might even tell us a lot in terms of like what to expect around the end of the year, around Royal Rumble time. At least put some ideas in our head and at least try to see what their intentions might be after tomorrow. That would be a crazy weekend, man, if they did a title change tomorrow night as well. The Miz is tag team champion at best. No, he's world champion at best because that's what he's been. He's also intercontinental. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Feels like lately he's been in tag teams, and a lot of these matches he's been losing. He hasn't even been winning them, and he doesn't have a really good win-loss record with Morrison anyway. So it's kind of hard to envision him as somebody that all of a sudden is now going to be a champion when you have champions at the top right now currently on both brands that are so ridiculously strong. Roman and Drew, and now with Orton. These are not pushovers. If this is a weaker champion, if this is a Jinder Mahal, and I hate to throw AJ in there. I say not weaker champion, but like a smaller champion, somebody that could be annihilated in a match or be really compromised or vulnerable, and Miz takes advantage or whatever. Where Orton, Drew, and Roman just feel like they're too strong for that. So that's why I think the Miz should wait. And if the Miz wants to pretend to be smart and kayfabe, he should act smart. If I'm the Miz and I got the briefcase and I have until June to cash this thing in, I ain't cashing it in now. Not against these behemoths. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for just the right time. I know you don't like this term, but Otis was buried in the last 2 months. He just wasn't. I just don't understand why they took the angle that was pretty over with him and Mandy, and then just without any explanation, well, with a little bit of explanation, they moved Mandy to Raw. And then when she got there, it was almost like the shit with Otis never happened or whatever. And you still feel like you have to have a payoff there because the Miz, he orchestrated that whole thing. So eventually, what's the payoff there going to be? Is Mandy going to officially dump Otis? Is she going to turn on Otis and all that stuff? It's like they left us hanging with all that. And now with Tucker, starting this feud, you don't know where it's going to go. And if Otis is ever going to find a way to tie all those loose ends back up, I still think he could find his way over to Raw. But if not, he's stuck on SmackDown all alone. And this Peach is over there on Raw teaming with Dana Brooke and shit. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of been thinking that Miz and Morrison would be breaking up at some point as well too, but they still together as of right now. Oh, by the way, you guys do me a favor and smash me some thumbs ups. I'd appreciate it. Go over here and answer a couple of more questions in here. Orton is 4-0 in title matches in the cell. We talked about this the other day. I wasn't aware of the 4-0. Oh, wait, he lost in WWE title matches. So he lost the World Heavyweight title match to Henry in the cell. Wow. Yeah, I barely even remembered the Daniel Bryan one, but then I think I did after we talked about it a little bit. But yeah, he's won a lot of titles in the cell. It's kind of his match, sort of. It's one of his matches. Yeah, I thought the same. Shell Shock, that's a good idea too. You would think though the Edge, maybe he would want to preserve Randy Orton being the champion to get a chance to win the title himself. But if he does show up and put Orton down, screws him, and allows the Miz to cash in, that could be pretty interesting. But it almost might make Edge come off as a heel to help out the Miz of all people. And then maybe Miz and Morrison can celebrate and act like they're Edge's best friends, and then he spears him and says, "No, fuck you, I didn't do it for you." But still, then you put the belt on the Miz, and people are still going to credit Edge for that. But I'd rather see Edge get a run. I want to see him, like, anytime somebody comes back. When The Rock came back and Hogan came back, and a lot of these guys came back, they put the belts on all of them. I don't think Edge should really be any different. I would love to see him get a run with the title. Hey, thanks, Mike. Appreciate the super chat. Thanks for the review. I wonder if they still try Raw vs. SmackDown for Survivor Series. We were talking about that earlier. I kind of hope they don't. Just because I think the dumbest thing in the world to brag about is brand supremacy. I don't think the fans care. I don't think the wrestlers care. We just had the draft a couple weeks ago. So how can you have a bunch of matches between the brands? There's no loyalty. What are the wrestlers really fighting for? I mean, you have to make these matches for a large sum of money or something for them to even care. And then I know the fans don't care. So I'd rather just see it be a regular pay-per-view with an Undertaker tribute-themed type of feel to it, with some rematches. Definitely maybe Sasha and Bayley again. You might have to do a fourth match with Randy and Drew, provided we don't have a cash-in tomorrow. And I'd rather just see that. Put an IC title match on the show. Put a US title on this match on the show. Put tag matches on the show. And maybe one 5-on-5. I thought about the rat Ryan Rhoda. I thought that earlier, and I reluctantly didn't say it because I didn't think it made sense. I thought about trading Otis over to Raw, maybe sending Drew to SmackDown, but I don't know if that really makes sense, Drew being there, unless you're going to set up a McIntyre and Roman angle right now. It just doesn't feel like that fits. So, and plus I don't think that's a fair trade, Otis to Raw for Drew. So I can see Otis getting traded to Raw, but I think McIntyre's got to stay there for right now. Speaking of Raw, because we had the pay-per-view tonight, I don't think we've had any sort of Raw previews for tomorrow. We'll probably get a bunch of stuff tonight or tomorrow on social media. I don't know if they're going to try to get another Keith Lee Braun Strowman match in. I hope not. So far, they've got nothing planned for tomorrow. Other than, I'm sure, Randy Orton victory, promo or celebration of some kind. I'm sure we'll get some more Alexa Bliss and the Fiend stuff. Retribution, I'm sure, will look like a pile of crap. The Hurt Business will kick some ass. Elias will sing and then get in a fight. And we'll probably see some action from the women, too. Hopefully we'll set up and get an idea of what Asuka is going to be doing. Curious what her situation will be at Survivor Series as well. And if she does defend the title, if it's going to be against, Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax or whatever, because they're still tag champs. Don't know. How easy. Thanks, man. Appreciate the $2. Lars' new theme should be Rick James, Super Freak. It should. What does he call his finisher? Freak Accident, right? Freak Accident. And it was just ridiculous the way the commentators, it must be all Vince. I swear it's so over the top that they're ribbing him. They're ribbing him with this freak stuff. The Freak Lars Sullivan, the Freak Lars Sullivan, the Freak Lars Sullivan. The fact that they just keep saying it over and over. You know, I know WWE likes to hammer things home into our heads, but they're even taking it 10 times too far here, which makes me think they're just ribbing his ass. I'd like to see Miz fail to cash in too. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I'd be perfectly fine. Yeah, Bayley and Sasha are still on the same brand, and I think they'll stay there. So they'll probably continue a little bit here. There'll probably be some sort of a rematch between the two. We just got to hope that Sasha Banks can actually retain this time. Yeah, in terms of Morrison, like how he plays into all this, he could essentially have the same type of problem with the Miz that Tucker did with Otis. And you might be able to see something like that down the line. I kind of thought that Morrison and the Miz pairing up was kind of the introductory way to get Morrison back onto TV. They'd eventually split. Morrison would do some stuff, but I don't know. I feel like he could have definitely done more. That's for sure. Anyway, any final thoughts on this pay-per-view here? Looks like Deshaun Robinson's got some. Thanks for the $5, dude. So Sasha has been in all 3 Hell in the Cell matches. Charlotte's match was okay, but between Becky and Bayley, those two insanely good. Which one do you like more? I like tonight's more than all of them. I think Sasha's performed well in all of them that she's been in. But tonight, I think it was just my favorite. I just thought they played it off well. I guess maybe because I was also slightly concerned that maybe they wouldn't, because I thought all this time the build between them and it has been so fantastic, and then when they finally did the turn, I think they made a couple of mistakes on TV. I don't know why I think they should have kept them away from each other for a little bit while longer while they did. I think when they were building it, I think they should have kept Sasha off TV for a little while longer, selling the injury. I think they definitely shouldn't have done the match they tried to do a couple of weeks ago. And I guess I was just nervous that none of this would pay off the way it should, based on we're talking about close to like 2 years now, that this has really kind of started and had everybody wondering when are these two going to kind of finally come together and come to a head. So I was nervous that they wouldn't be able to pull it off. And I was never happier to be wrong, man. It was a great match. They did marvelously, man. That's a type of match I'd probably go back and watch again, just to see it unfold one more time. Yeah, I agree with you, new one. We talked about Rikishi potentially being there tonight, and instead of it turned out to be Alpha and Sika with Roman Reigns. If they bring Rikishi into this now, and maybe he sides with his sons or whatever, and then could you see a 6-man tag? Oh my God, could you imagine that? Roman Reigns and the Wild Samoans against Rikishi and the Usos? Oh my God, there's no way we could see that. There's no way. But yeah, I could see Rikishi making an appearance on TV. Maybe cutting a promo against Roman, and he could have some things to say too, because Rikishi could say things like, look, I know what it's like to be you. I know what it's like to do some horrific things in name of the family. Remember, I did it for The Rock. He could maybe offer some wisdom and some advice from somebody that's made really big mistakes, all in the name of family honor or whatever. And then Roman could like throw it in his face. He's like, you ain't me. You're never to my level. You were, there's alphas like me and The Rock. Maybe even name drop The Rock just to plant the seed, maybe for WrestleMania. Something there. So I think that would work. I think there'd be all sorts of stuff that's just pre-written right there. You wouldn't even have to try very hard to make it good. And Rikishi could come out there and be a part of this whole thing. A lot of families going on TV. You got all the Samoans out there. You got Ray and their whole family as well, also on SmackDown. There's a lot going on from a family perspective on that show. Oh my God, I forgot all about the World Series. Yeah, so it looks like Dodgers are going to take this game. They're going to be up 3-2. Last night was a crazy finish. Did you guys see the World Series? I was at work. Oh, ESPN's texting me right now. I wonder if that's to tell me that Dodgers won. Anyway, because I live in Southern California, so most everybody around here is rooting pretty hard for the Dodgers. So we had the game on in the bar last night, And I'm watching, I'm walking around, and I see, Dodgers are up 1. It's bottom of the 9th. Tampa Bay's up 2 outs, and I think 2 men on. And I forget the guy's name, hits basically just hits a single, into center field. Center fielder bobbles the ball, allows the run, 1 run already scores to tie up the game. I think the first base runner is running all the way around. He starts rounding third, and then he trips and falls. He's going to try to make it into home to win the game. He trips and falls as the ball comes flying into the catcher, and then the catcher drops the ball, and he's able to get back up and slide in. Great finish. It was a dusty finish to a World Series. Craziest thing and most damnedest thing I've ever seen. We saw like 3 big-time errors to finish a baseball game that happened on the anniversary of the Bill Buckner play, which is really eerie that all that took place. And it was fun to watch that. Just the reactions in the bar was, it was crazy. Everybody was just freaking out at the finish of the game last night. That was good stuff. I don't care who wins. I have no loyalty to the Dodgers or the Rays either way. And no dog in this fight whatsoever. But I appreciated the ending of the game last night. That was so fun. So fun. Oh, yeah, we had Bound for Glory last night, right? TNA Bound for Glory. Rich Swann came out of that as the Impact champion. Is that right? Crazy. And I think Good Brothers dropped their tag straps too. I think I just kind of read the results. Yeah, Maka, please do. After this is over, go watch the Wrestle Rock Rumble video and watch what Jerry Blackwell jumps through and tell me that's not the same thing that Bayley was trying to make in the Hell in the Cell. Hilarious. Yeah, and The Rock was doing the induction for Ken Shamrock last night on Impact as well. So The Rock, the only wrestling company he's appeared for all year on TV is Impact. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Good for The Rock though. He didn't even have to go through much effort. Like Ken Shamrock asked him on Twitter to make a video. He's like, yeah, sure. I'll give you. He should have charged him a cameo price. He's like, yeah, sure. I'll get to it right away or whatever. And he filmed a very nice, tribute and message to Ken Shamrock. So awesome of The Rock for doing that. Just what a cool guy he is. Because, I mean, that was, Rock did a lot of his teeth cutting against Ken Shamrock back in, the first year or two he was there and working with him in like 98 and a little bit of 97. That was good stuff. They worked well together. I love the WrestleMania match when The Rock won and all that shit. After he lost, but won anyway, and he's stretchered out. Oh my God, good stuff. Happy that he did that for Kenny. Mike Maxon, thanks again for 2 more. You think Orton should hold on to it until WrestleMania? I'm open to that. The only thing I worry about though is I think they're also going to have a Roman hold it until WrestleMania. Not that you can't have 2 big title changes on the same show. We've seen it plenty of times. But I feel like if you're gonna make somebody at the expense of Roman, I almost think that should be, the really, really heavy focus. But you could do Orton and Edge on the undercard for the title, and Edge could win the title or some shit like that. And then maybe Big E wins it in the main event. I'd love to see that. Would love it. No, I don't know what the deal with Kylie Ray was. She didn't appear on the show when she was supposed to. Was that the story I saw? Don't know. Rock has gained more muscle. How is that possible? Rock has more muscle on him? He's a meat castle. Yeah, he is. He's 99% muscle, 1% teeth. Rock is a beast. There's still time for him to get in the ring one more time. I'd love to see it, but I don't know. Have they ever used 2x4s in professional wrestling? I can think of maybe one guy that might have liked them. Madeline, don't bring that up. Randy Orton against Cena again? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm going to say no. We don't want that. The fans have just gotten to the point now where I think they tolerate Cena, where they're realizing that, oh my God, turns out he's not the Antichrist. Who would have thought? Putting him in there with Orton, I think, would put a bad taste in all of our mouths. It would definitely put one in mine. I didn't like it at all in 2013 when they unified the belts like that at the Survivor Series when he came out and they did the stare down, and then I think at TLC They unified them like out of the blue and in December. What are you doing? So if they do that now, I think that would not be good. I'd rather see Orton work with Edge, and then I'd rather see John Cena win the Universal title. Whoever has it, whenever he decides to come back to the ring and challenge for a championship, I think that's a belt that WWE wants him to hold, so they can have it in the in the lineage of the Universal title, and it'll be a championship that he's never won before, and it could also potentially be a history-making and record-breaking title win as well if he surpasses Ric Flair by doing so. So I kind of think that's what he should do down the line, but I don't know. I don't want to see him come back and beat Roman or anything for it. I think it has to be like a random champion. Fucking stupid-ass Baron Corbin needs to get his ugly mitts on that title, and then John Cena beats him or something like that, That's what I do. Wrestle Austin, I love the show. We talked about it at the opening of the podcast here. I definitely give this show an A. Could make an argument that it was definitely the best pay-per-view of the COVID era. I thought all 3 Hell in the Cell matches were excellent, and I think they did a good job of restoring my faith in the match concept, because the last couple of years have completely killed it. I was mortified, disgusted by what they did last year. Wasn't a big fan of what they did the year before either. And for all 6 of these competitors, for Roman and Jey and Randy and Drew and Sasha and Bayley to come through the way they did, I thought it made for a really good show. Really awesome show. Cena versus Orton, one more match, part 1. I could definitely see another Cena versus Orton match, definitely. Kind of like a Ric Flair and Sting. I don't mind like a novelty match. I don't mind a throwback match. I don't know if I'd want to see these guys doing any world title stuff together at this stage. But I think, before they both hang them up, you should do that. I think if it's an environment where it's not like a show-stealing type of thing, or they're not unifying titles together and they're just back in the ring one more time, I just think of like Flair and Sting. That's what it reminds me of. Then I'm totally fine with it. Just depends on how it's presented. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Kurt Angle is done. I cannot believe his retirement match was against Baron Corbin. He did an interview too, saying that he himself was a little bit disappointed in it, because Vince was just like, "Yep, this is what we got for you. Take it or leave it," type of thing, which I think is just kind of just a shitty thing to do. Probably maybe Vince just feels like, hey, you left me for 10 years and went to TNA. I don't owe you shit. So you're lucky you're getting a retirement match from me. Maybe that was Vince's mentality, but I just think that's a shitty mentality, because Kurt Angle, he's one of the best ever, man. One of the best ever. I don't know where he sits in my top 5, but I might be with you there on top 5 of all time. He was just fantastic. So, and I do believe he deserves better. He should have worked with somebody else, or he should have at least won his last match, one or the other. I'm fine with him putting somebody over, but Corbin isn't the most likable guy. What superstar should come back for WrestleMania? I don't know. Probably Edge. I'm fine with just Edge and Cena. That's all I really need. I don't need Goldberg, even though we might have him around. So not Goldberg. I'd be cool if Goldberg came back and Roman Reigns retired him. We were going to do Roman and Goldberg last year. They've teased it recently. Oh, Goldberg's going to be in the Thunderdome and he's going to be watching Roman Reigns or some shit. Fine, book that match. A lot of fans are like, oh no, not Goldberg again. Well, if he comes back to legitimately, and I mean legitimately this time, have one more match and one more match only, and Roman Reigns, in the current persona and character that he has now, gets to be the person to end the Goldberg legacy, that's one giant fucking feather in his cap that would be pretty cool, especially in the timing would be perfect. Roman is the right guy at the right time to do it. Goldberg does not need to be in the ring anymore. We just do not need to see him. I'm sick and damn tired of him. And if he comes back for one more time to give us the WrestleMania match that we lost earlier this year, and then Roman puts him down and retires him, and that's the end for good, then I can get behind Goldberg coming back. But if he's coming back for another match and he's going to have 3 more after that, no interest. No interest at all. So otherwise, aside from Goldberg, probably just Cena and Edge. And if Rock's down, bring in The Rock. I'd love to see Rousey return too. Would love that. Goldberg versus Greg Gagne at WrestleMania. I think that would be a shitty match because Goldberg would get his ass kicked. And Greg Gagne would totally expose him. But, you know, they've teased that lately, you know, with Goldberg being on TV and stuff, which makes me think that they're going to bring him back again and have another match. And I mean, and then part of me understands. I mean, the dude's in ridiculous shape. Aside from his some gray hair, he looks the exact same as he did in 1997. There needs to be something to be said for that. If Goldberg was out of shape and let himself go and he was 300 fucking pounds with long hair, 400 pounds, then they probably like, nah, we're good. But he's kept himself in such phenomenal looking shape, and he never really was the best wrestler to begin with. So it doesn't really matter. You know, I get him coming back and I accepted it, but now after a couple of times there, you know, when he beat The Fiend and that was so ridiculous, and then that stinker of a match he had with The Undertaker, I'm done. I'm done with Goldberg. No more Goldberg. Oh, Deshaun, appreciate the super chat, but I have no idea what you said. Goldberg is 53. What does he have to prove in 2020? Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm not the one putting him on TV. They are. You can't avoid Goldberg being there. I'm just saying that he's going to be there. He's going to be back. So what scenario are you going to put him in? I'm not saying any of this is a good idea. It's just what they're going to do. So, yeah, WWE is the one that likes seeing him out there. I don't know. And if he's there, like I said, one more time, I thought the Fiend stuff was ridiculous. Some of the matches he's had has been ridiculous. But if he comes back and he puts Roman over and he does like a kind of a retirement type of deal or angle, then I can get behind it for one more match. And then that's it. But at this point, I wouldn't mind getting closure on Goldberg. I'd be totally cool with that, you know, because if not, then what was his last match against Ziggler? When was his last match? I don't even know what he had. Was it Ziggler? Or no, I think it was after that. I think he wrestled for the title. Oh, it was Strowman. Yeah. Stupid. Yeah, so against Strowman at WrestleMania. I suppose that could be it for him. Be a good spot to hang him up. But I think he could do one more, have Roman put him down. Vince is planning Becky versus Ronda for WrestleMania, for this year's WrestleMania. Ronda will be in the ring awfully quick after having that baby. I have no idea when she's due, but I'm assuming it's going to be January or February. That's not a little soon? Jesus, Vince. You got to wonder where Brock plays in. You bring up a good point there. You know, when we're going to see him again, I would wait on Brock until 2021. Bring him back around Rumble time or something. I don't really need to see him right now either. Let's let everybody else run with things for a while. Charlotte's been off TV too. She could be back pretty soon, but again with Charlotte, it's the same deal. I'm a Charlotte defender, just like I will be proven right with Charlotte, just like I was with Roman and Cena. Mark my words. But I also agree that sometimes she can overstay her welcome. So the longer she stays off TV, I think the better. And if they bring her back in 2021, I think that would be better for her. If they just randomly bring her back and she's thrust right back into a title situation, it's like she hasn't been gone long enough for the fans to like get over that. So I think she needs this break. She needs this break away from TV and this break away from the fans. So I'd like to hold off on Charlotte too. You know, everything's probably beginning of the year, Rumble, you know, new beginnings, 2021. I can see people like her, you know, potentially Edge, Goldberg coming back into the fold. Brock Lesnar, same thing. Doing a Brock Orton match again, I don't know. We already did that at SummerSlam and Orton got killed. So unless they want to do it again, I don't know. Yeah, but Brock would add to the Heyman and Roman alliance. That would be interesting. And it might be a way for Reigns to finally put down Brock too, you know, because Brock has beat Roman definitively. He did it that time at the WrestleMania, excuse me, WrestleMania main event, where he just bloodied him and beat the hell out of him. And all of Roman's victories over Brock have kind of come sort of quick. And I know right before he got leukemia and forfeited the title, he won at SummerSlam. And they had that weird finish where he speared him and then the chair slid over his face for the pin or whatever. It was kind of like out of nowhere. Like, oh shit, that came completely out of the blue, the 3 count. So I suppose you could do something like that again. But this time have Roman put him down, like for sure. Torch passing, you know? Have Roman put down retire Goldberg and then beat Brock right after that. It'll be unstoppable, man. Oh, Becky is due in December? Okay. So she can recover in time and be good to go for WrestleMania. Don't know. It's up to her. Whatever she wants to do is fine with me. I support it. But a lot of fans, I think, who are growing tired of her, when she announced her pregnancy, they're like, oh, I bet she's going to be gone for 3 years and blah, 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 or whatever. I'm like, how do you know? You don't know what she wants to do. People are saying the same thing about Seth Rollins. Oh, he's going to be off for a long time for paternity leave. I'm like, he ain't going to be gone that long. I mean, having a baby is a big deal, but they're not going to give you 6 months off. Go home 2 or 3 weeks, enjoy your new family, get your ass back to work. That's at least for Seth. With Becky, WWE is going to let her take as much time as she needs, I'm sure. So if she's already itching, if she's already missed being away from the ring so much that she's saying in her head, as soon as I have this baby, I want to get right back in shape and get back in there as soon as possible. Great. Welcome back. She can make it back in time to have a WrestleMania match. That would be mind-blowing to me. Oh, there you are, Deshaun. I was wondering what you said there. Sorry you had to do it twice, but thank you for $5 more. Had to correct my super. Could we see at Survivor Series AJ and his bodyguard have a segment with Taker as a reunion since Mania and AJ has PTSD? Maybe. That would be funny. The bodyguard. I almost forgot that he debuted the bodyguard on Monday. That's right. That would be funny. A little reunion there from the Boneyard match. That's a hell of an idea. I even pitched the idea of seeing Undertaker have a face-off with Sting. Just face-off. No match. No setup for a match. Just, acknowledgement, one legend to another. Shake hands. Give the fans that visual. We're never going to get a match, but maybe we can get the face-to-face. Hey, shut up. I got a meowing kitty over there. So I'm all for any idea that they want to do with Undertaker. Not sure what's up with Seth. I didn't really talk about his segment on SmackDown yesterday, but I'm kind of hoping this Messiah stuff runs its course. Punk versus Seth at Mania next year. We thought that. Punk came back at Backstage on the WWE show, and him and Seth traded a couple of tweets, I think, or whatever, and it put the idea in your head. I'd love to see that. Punk and Seth at WrestleMania. That'd be great, but how many more years are we going to be bringing up CM Punk on this podcast? Anywho. Well, that puts the stream at about 2 hours. That's what I was looking to do, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cruise out of here now. Sorry to leave so many of you stranded here in the chat, but I appreciate you guys hanging out for the review tonight. And I will be back up here tomorrow night right after Raw, and hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about. We should get an idea. Jeez, my cat is loud. We should get an idea of what we're going to do at Survivor Series, if Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre are going to have another match, if we're going to potentially get a cash-in, what the hell Asuka's trajectory is going to be, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see tomorrow night. Make sure you join me immediately following the show right up here on the YouTube for a full show review. So you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. I'm going to go wring my cat's neck. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll talk to you soon.